Welcome to The Grind. Before we get this episode started, if you could please take a minute to share us on whatever platform you're watching or listening on, we would greatly appreciate it. A share on Facebook, a retweet on Twitter, and a subscribe on YouTube would go a long way in extending our reach and engaging more App State wrestling fans. Thank you for your time. Here's your host, Dominic Parisi.
Thank you, JB. So tonight we have a wrestler who graduated in the years that turned a corner for App State Wrestling. And as always, here's a little bit about his wrestling career. He wrestled at App State from 2007 to 2012. While wrestling in high school, he wrestled at Bay City Western High in Michigan. He was a 4-time Michigan State qualifier and a 3-time placer, taking 7th as a sophomore, 4th as a junior, and 3rd as a senior. He was a state champion in Greco and freestyle while wrestling in high school, and also was on Michigan's national dual team for freestyle. While at App State University, his freshman year, he redshirted competing at open tournaments across the country. During his redshirt freshman year, he was a starter and finished 5th on the team with 17 wins while wrestling at 141 pounds. He earned Southern Conference All-Freshman honors. He had 3 key victories with wins over Duke, Davidson, and VMI during the dual season, and he went 3-1 at the SoCon tournament, earning a 3rd place finish. His redshirt sophomore year, he posted an 8-7 record on the year after suffering an injury in late November. He went 3-2 at the Michigan State Open, taking 5th place, and also went 3-2 at the Keystone Classic, finishing 4th. His redshirt junior year, he had a 27-17 record, finished 2nd at the SoCon tournament. His 12 dual meet wins were 3rd most on the team at that time, and he posted 3 wins in conference duels, including the Citadel, UNCG, and VMI. His last year, his redshirt senior year, he finished 32-13, posting the 9th most wins in a season by any ASU wrestler. He won the Southern Conference tournament, automatically qualifying for the NCAAs in St. Louis. He was named to the all-conference team. He went 6-0 in SoCon duels, posted a 14-3 dual meet record for the team's 3rd most dual victories. He led the team with 23 wins by decision as well. He captured a 3rd place at the Hokie Open, took 4th place at the Keystone Classic, and finished 6th at the prestigious Southern Scuffle. He finished ranked 8th on ASU's career win list with 84 wins, helping App State to a Southern Conference championship title this year during his redshirt senior year. Welcome to Beyond the Mat with Mike Kessler. What do you think about that intro, man?
Not bad.
Not too bad,
but not bad.
Well, hey, man, we appreciate you being on tonight, taking time out of your busy Monday to come on The Grind with us. Another great alumni for us, and we'll jump right into it with the first question. So how did you get started in the sport of wrestling? This is what we ask everyone, and we want to know what got you in the sport, Mike.
Oh, man. It was at a very, very young age. My dad wrestled in high school, so he just had the love for the sport. And then I have an older brother, Jason, who's about 8 years older than me. So when he was at the youth wrestling club, I think he started maybe he was like 6, 8 years old or something like that. So he was already in like 11, 12 age group when I was young. And I think probably by the age of 4, I was already like wrestling on the mat with all the kids and stuff like that. And then I think I actually first started competing when I was 5. So in Michigan, I mean, that's not really unheard of. I mean, there's a lot of kids that start wrestling at a really young age. So I just kind of got into it. And honestly, I enjoyed it as a kid. I had a lot of friends on the wrestling team there. Some of my best friends were wrestlers, and I'm still best friends with them to this day. So very grateful for that. And then, just kind of went from there. Like I was good at it. So obviously you keep doing things that you're good at. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. I loved the physical contact. I loved, beating people up, and, I loved, sounds weird, but I liked getting beat up too. That way I can like have something to set on and, kind of get to it. So wrestling was just the sport for me.
Heck yeah. Well, then we'll jump right into your high school career then. So, you wrestled at Michigan. Just walk us through year by year, freshman to senior year, how your career went in high school, 4-time Michigan State qualifier, 3-time placer. Just give us the rundown on your high school career year by year.
All right. So in Bay City, like Bay City Western used to be a powerhouse like wrestling school. Like when my brother was there, they went to states as a team. They always had state qualifiers, multiple state placers. They've had a couple of state champs. I mean, I don't know if you know like big time pro wrestling, but the Steiner brothers, they went there. So I mean, Bay City was like on the map for a while, and then literally when I got there my freshman year, like it just went to crap. It was crazy. It was like the worst period of time for Bay City Western Wrestling. And it was a thing where I got there my freshman year and I wrestled 103, had a pretty good workout partner that year. Luckily a senior was at like 112. So it worked out really good to have him as a workout partner. That year, won counties, won valleys, regionals. I think I took like third or something like that. I got like 40 wins that season. At states, I went 0-2, unfortunately. And then that was kind of that, really. And then I think kind of started back up on freestyle and Greco like at that point in time. And that's when my coach was like, you have to start wrestling like all year round, all the time. Yeah. So that's when I kind of got into that. And honestly, I found out that I enjoyed freestyle and Greco more than folk style at most points. So then came around sophomore year and was doing better. I think that year I went up to 112, so still a little guy. And then that year there, my goal is to place at states. Like that was it. So in Michigan, the divisions are D4, 3, 2, and 1, which is very similar to North Carolina. So like Division 1 is considered your guys' is like 4A, I believe is what it's called. Okay. So, that was kind of like the thing. Like I always wanted to be like best class and like wanted to be all state that year. So got 7th that year. Wasn't too happy, but it was good. Accomplished the goal. And then junior year, things were kind of like falling into place a little bit better. So I was like ranked across the state, in contention for being a state champion, things like that. Was beating some good people. Same thing, freshman, sophomore, junior year, won counties, valleys, districts, then got to regionals. I think I won regionals my junior year as well too. And then at senior or at states there, it was a good tournament. There's a lot of tough kids and ended up taking 4th that year, but it was a solid bracket. I wasn't disappointed with it. All good wrestlers. And then my senior year, I was kind of coming into it, and I was really, really stoked for my senior year. I had offers to wrestle at Central Michigan University. They wanted me to commit early and wrestle for them. I was really good friends with Coach Borelli out there and his son, Jason Borelli, who was coaching at Stanford, but I believe they lost their program. So I don't know where he's at now. But, I actually had dinner with Coach Borelli with my parents, and it was like everything was kind of coming together, but it just didn't feel right. So when it came down to like signing day for early recruitment my senior year, I didn't do it. And it was kind of a weird phone call making it out there because that's like what I always wanted to do is wrestle in college. Yeah. So it just didn't seem right. So I just didn't do it. And he said, all right, well, you win states and we're going to bump up your scholarship and blah, blah, blah. I said, all right, let's do this. And senior year came around, didn't lose. I think I lost like one match and then won everything up till states and was training really hard and ended up, it was the quarterfinals. I got in there and your boy got spladled.
Oh, no.
Your boy got spladled. Yep. I lost like 9-5 or something like that. And man, dude, it seemed like the world like crashed down at me at that point in time. It sucked so bad. So bad. Yep.
Yeah,
It
that's a move you never want to get caught in,
no,
How'd that happen? Was it were you in on a shot, or did he kind of catch you off guard with it, or?
He wrestled for a school called Rockford, which is at that time they were like one of the best wrestling schools in the state.
Yeah.
And I think what ended up happening is, I mean, just his coaches and stuff, they kind of knew like this kid's good, we're gonna have to like pull something out and we gotta like do this. So I think they just did a really good job as far as like watching how my shots were. And I have like this really weird high crotch shot to like a sweep single. And I mean, even John Mark like tried to make me get rid of the shot, but like honestly, it worked and got me a lot of takedowns and won me a lot of matches. But for some reason, that was just like my shot, and I think he knew it was coming this one time. And honestly, it critiqued my shot from that point forward because I learned my lesson. But yeah, when I went to go switch to the single leg, my head was down like an idiot, and just it was a mistake. And those things happen, unfortunately, with wrestling and everything like that. But yeah, world came crashing down, and I was a senior, I was at top of my level, and people want to talk to me like, yeah, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not. This is not what I worked for. This is not what I wanted to happen. So I was devastated, man. Like I didn't even want to wrestle. Like I didn't want to wrestle anymore. I'm like, I came here to do one thing, and that was to be a state champion. That's what I came to do. And anyways, I got over it.
Yeah.
And had another match. And after that, I went out there and I just wrestled and I beat people up. That's all I enjoyed doing for the rest of that tournament. I was just taking the anger out and felt good, honestly, and ended up taking third. So I blasted through the losers bracket, beat everybody, took third, and ended up with I think senior year I was like 54-2 or something like that, and then ended up having 209 career wins and ended up like top 100 Michigan wrestlers. So I had a good career. It was good high school.
That is a great career, man, especially in a tough state like Michigan. And kudos for you for saying it as it is your senior year, getting caught in Splado. Ain't too many people that'll admit to getting caught in that move, man.
No, it's embarrassing. But hey, man, I didn't get pinned.
That's that. There you go. And you know what? What's good about that is your goals come crashing down, but then you battle back. Battle back for third, which I think that says more about somebody than walking through a bracket. So. Heck yeah, man. So real quick, we're talking with Mike Kessler on The Grind. Share the video on whatever platform you're watching us on. Help us get more viewers on here. Feel free to leave comments in our live chat. We'll get to them as they come. And it looks like Mike Todd, and forgive me, Todd, if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, Todd Haberland. He said, super cool. Your dad, Mark, was one B.A. John Glenn wrestler. Great to see a Bay City kid do so well. So Todd's over here giving you some kudos. But we'll jump back into it. So did you wrestle in any clubs or go to any camps while you were in high school?
Yeah, so I think the first camp I ever went to was Michigan State's camp. And I got to meet the legendary Tom Merkel, I believe the head coach's name was. And then after that, we went to Michigan team camp as a high school team. And then, which was kind of odd because we went there as dual team, and I ended up switching teams in wrestling with Davison, which is like a powerhouse high school team up in Michigan. So I used to train with those guys all the time. I used to go to Davison and work out with them during high school, off season. And then that was when like the studs like John Reeder and Brett Metcalf were there. Roy Hall's the coach there. Paul Donahoe was there at that time too. So I mean, back then that's like Davison was like powerhouse, one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
And then those were only camps I went to with like the high school team. And then, like I said, every other year besides that, I was on Team Michigan, doing their camps, going out to Fargo, doing the duels. And then honestly, my favorite experience was the Disney duels, going down to Florida and wrestling at their complex there, which is pretty amazing. Honestly, I never even thought that Disney would have a sports complex like that. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's some of my best memories, honestly, with high school wrestling. There, wrestling with some of the best kids in Michigan, and end up watching them wrestle for different universities across the country and running into them at, tournaments, NCAAs, stuff like that, and seeing how good they were doing and keeping up with them. But yeah, those were definitely the things that kind of put me on a level of being able to compete at a Division I level in college, was definitely getting out and getting that experience and, seeing how good, some of these kids really were. You know what I mean? Instead of being the big fish in the little pond, you got to see that, sometimes you're the little fish in a big pond.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we'll jump out of high school here. We'll start getting into college. So what you had offers from local universities in Michigan. What made you pick App State? How was the recruiting process? What made you come all the way over here to the mountains? You said it didn't feel right at Central. So what felt right here? Talk us through that process.
So ended up, like I said, senior year, didn't get the state championship, and I kind of got crushed by Coach Borelli, and I asked him, I said, so like, is the scholarship there as far as the amount that we want to talk about and stuff? And he's like, unfortunately, it's not. It's at the same spot. And I was just a little bit stubborn, and I said, you know what, like, screw this, I'm going out. And then my coach was like, you got to go to senior nationals. You got to go out to Virginia Beach. So went out there, and you either had to be a state champion to wrestle in the tournament, or you had to have multiple state places or something like that. So I ended up qualifying for it. Came through, wrestled some good matches, won, and then I think I got like to the round before the quarters or something like that, and I wrestled this kid named Nick Diaz. And he was actually like the number one kid in the country at the time. He ended up winning senior nationals, and me and him just duked it out. I think he ended up beating me by like 1 point. And after that, I think I won like 2 more matches. I didn't end up placing. I think it was like the round of 12 that I ended up losing, or maybe a match before that. And then they kind of have like coach areas where like coaches from different universities were there, and it was kind of like a soft recruiting type deal. So I was there with my family, just kind of walking around, and my family's always been like super supportive of like everything and anything I wanted to do, because they always knew I wanted to wrestle in college. So we were kind of just walking around, and we talked to some other schools in PA here, there, and at that point in time, I believe John Mark was there, and it was very brief, but I talked to him, seemed like a good guy, everything was cool, but that was kind of it. And then Coach Mock from Chapel Hill ended up giving me a call, and he's like, hey, I see that you haven't signed anywhere, and AJ Grant is actually the assistant coach, and he's from Michigan. So he kind of had some ties, knew some different people, and kind of knew like some of the people that were still out and available that were, D1 potential type wrestlers. So I ended up going on a recruiting trip to UNC Chapel Hill, and beautiful school, like very beautiful. I was super impressed. Like it was great, and I wanted to go there. And then I seen the out-of-state tuition. And it was crazy. It was just insane. And I told my parents, I'm like, I want to go there. And they're like, you can do whatever you want, but you do understand, like, there's a lot of zeros behind that number. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So as I don't know if it was when I was flying back or what was going on, but I ended up getting a call, and it was John Mark Bentley, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you're in North Carolina. Do you want to make a drive up to the mountains and see App State?" And I'm like, I didn't drive down here. I flew down here, but let me go ahead and just schedule for next weekend, and I'll come down. He's like, yeah, that's perfect. So me and my mom actually ended up driving down there.
Okay.
I think it's like maybe like a 11-hour drive. So, we made a little trip out of it, went down there. John Mark had me stay with Terrell Williams and Jared Campbell, who to this day we still laugh about, like, this recruiting trip and how I even went there and stuff, because it was like summer classes. I think it was the break in between summer classes. So there's like nobody on campus. There's like nothing to do. And they leave me with Terrell and Jared, and we literally just kind of like played video games. We didn't really do anything. And it was cool with me, though. Like, it was just like a good vibe of like Boone. We went out to eat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And anyways, like, I came back, and it was like a day later, and my mom stayed at the hotel and stuff. And then we did some wrestling around, I think, with some of the other guys there, and did some other things, and ended up at the end of the trip. My mom's like, "So what do you think?" I'm like, "I like it a lot." She's like, "You're going to go to school here, aren't you?" I go, "Yep, I'm pretty sure."
Wow.
And this was like, it was like before like even money was like really talked about and stuff like that. And, because I did need some help as far as like financial aid to pay for college, especially, going to a D1 school. It's not cheap. So, that was obviously a very important thing. And we found a really good spot between both of us, and it worked out great. And I appreciate John Mark for giving me that call, because honestly, from that point on, I couldn't see me going to a different school. Honestly, like, if I would have went to Central Michigan or some of these other schools like Clarion and stuff like that, like, it didn't have the vibe that worked out perfect with like the type of person I am. I'm laid back. I like country, but I also like beautiful scenery, and I like interacting with people. So like a D1 school in the mountains was like a perfect fit that I never even heard of. Yeah. And I feel like that's how a lot of people feel about App State now. And that's the reason why the school is literally blowing up, is because it's been a hidden gem for a super long time.
Yeah, no kidding. That was kind of the same with me. My recruiting trip, it was even half a day. I didn't even get a weekend trip, but half a day. Went to a football game that was raining. It was foggy. You couldn't see any of the mountains. But it was like, man, this place, there's something right about this place. And I felt the exact same way. So I know exactly what you're talking about, man. It is a special place. And once you come here, you figure that out. And only until you come here is when you figure that out. But
it really is.
Yeah. So describe your wrestling style. Let everybody know what kind of style you had. Describe your style for us.
I would say heavy hands, offensive. I prefer wrestling on my feet. I'll do takedowns all day. I'll do takedowns.
Touché. So then what? So I think it was your red shirt sophomore year is when you suffered the injury. Is that correct, or was it the year before?
That was red shirt sophomore.
Cool. What was the injury, and how'd you overcome that?
I took this elbow here, and it went that way, and this arm went that way, and then this went this way. So just literally, I was posted on the mat like this, and dude was doing a claw ride right here, and just kind of rolled over. And when that happened, it was just like a weird situation. And unfortunately, I find myself in those all the time. But Anyways, it was like this, rolled over, and when that happened, it just shot my elbow out this way. It literally broke my ulnar head and just shot it right out. And yeah, it was the worst pain I've ever experienced my entire life, by far. Like, they gave me multiple shots of morphine in the ambulance, and I'm telling them, like, looking the guy in the face, I'm like, you need to give me more morphine because this is hurting. And I mean, I was not this calm, and I was not saying like these proper words, but it was very, very painful. And then, yeah, when I got to the hospital there, I think it was at Northeast Duels, which is up in New York area, and got to the hospital, and the doctor's like, all right, man, we're gonna take care of you, and just shot me with something, and I was out. They didn't really do surgery there. They ended up just kind of like setting it in place where it needed to be, and then I had to ride the bus all the way home from New York to Boone
With a throbbing elbow.
Oh, yeah. Horrible.
I can
Horrible.
only imagine, man.
Yeah. And then I had to go see the App State doctor, the orthopedic surgeon. And that's kind of when it actually even got worse, because he told me that I'd never be able to wrestle again. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we can fix this, right? Like, we can fix it, right? And he's like, I'm sorry, man, but you're not gonna wrestle again. There's no way. And I'm like, okay, all right. So, John Marcus, what's that?
After that, you go get a second opinion.
Yeah, well, not really from a surgeon. So basically, he did the operation. He did a really good job. He ended up putting in a bunch of screws into my ulnar head, and I think I got like 3 screws still in my elbow to keep everything intact. And props to John Mark, good coach. Took me to my surgery, and on my way back from surgery, I threw up in his car. So
No
sorry.
way.
Yeah. So it's still a laughing joke between me and coach, but he was good for it. But then, yeah, I ended up, you got to do physical therapy and stuff, and it's kind of how my career like started like making some weird turns and stuff. Is I went to a physical therapist in Boone. Can't remember the guy's name or anything like that, but I told him, I'm like, I'm a wrestler. This happened like this, blah blah blah, and I kind of like told him, like, the doctor says I'm not gonna be able to wrestle again. I'm pretty bummed out about that. And he's like, don't listen to him. You don't have to listen to him. He's like, he put you together. He's like, now it's my job to get you back on the mat. And I'm like, all right, I like this guy. This guy's cool.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, I did almost. It was a half a year of like PT where it was like just getting range of motion back. Like, when it first broke, I was in a sling and I could maybe move it like this far. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
And he would like be literally like grabbing my arm and like, and I just be in like as much pain as possible without it like tearing things. And like, this dude he was good, but like, I mean, he was pushing me to my max because I think he knew, he's like, if we don't do it as crazy as possible, like, this dude won't have like good range of motion. He won't be able to wrestle. Yeah. And I only lost a couple of degrees, but I was back on the mat in probably like, it was like summer camp, so wrestling camp there. So I would say, it was probably about 7-8 months later, I was back wrestling on the mat. So that felt good.
Dude, unreal, man. I mean, we were teammates for 3 years. I had no idea about that. And wow, that's pretty wild. Sava Costas, I don't know if the name rings a bell. He just chimed in. He said that was nasty. He remembers seeing it, I guess.
You want to know what's crazy about the whole thing? And like, I don't even know why, but we were wrestling in Nebraska. And anyway, hey, Sava, nice to see you, man. Sorry I didn't meet up with you last time I was down there, but I promise I will this next time. But it was weird because like when it happened and I'm laying there waiting for an ambulance and all these people, so I'm like laying there and I'm just like, what the hell, man? Like, this is horrible. Yeah. And I look up and like I see Jordan Burroughs, and he's like sitting in the chair and he's just like, and I just remember, like, for some reason he was just like in my eyesight where like I didn't really know like he wasn't who he is now, but
Right.
this like back then I think he was like a junior or something like that. So he might have been like I don't know how many times he won it or something like that, but like it's just weird because like I kept like looking over because I'm bored but in pain, and like I just see Jordan Burroughs like squeaming and stuff like that, and then now I look and he's like the greatest wrestler that's like come.
Oh, that's funny, man. Not really. But wow, yeah, that's pretty crazy. You get an injury, doc says you're not going to wrestle anymore, and then you finish out your career. You get better and better as years go on. Get to the NCAA's, win a SoCon title. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, then let's jump into our next question here. Again, talking with Mike Kessler. Feel free to ask any questions or put any comments in the chat. We'll give you a shout out as time goes on. Probably got about 30 more minutes left here, but we'll jump into the next question. What's your favorite tournament trip that you enjoyed?
I'm gonna say Reno Tournament of Champions.
Ah,
I think that was 2010.
elaborate.
We all wrestled really good. You know, I would say the boys were, me, Sava, Chip, Blevins, Trotman, and then we had this wild card. His name was Dylan Temple. Love the kid, but he was a wild card. And we ended up going out in Reno. And I mean, Reno's just, if you haven't been there, like Reno's just kind of a funky little mini Vegas type thing. And,
Yeah, yeah.
we're out and we're having a good old time and stuff like that. But we end up doing karaoke. And it's like all of us doing karaoke and we're acting like fools. And people are just like, they've literally just given us the whole entire stage just so we can keep handing the mic over. And we are all gambling, but we're all winning. Like it was just insane. Like the next morning, like looking over and I'm asking Chip, I'm like, so how much did you win last night? He's like, I won like a couple $100, and I look in my pockets and stuff, and I'm like telling him like, man, I still have all these chips. I remember having like this cash out with this one, and then looking over, and we ended up counting all of our chips. Like we ended up winning like probably, I don't know, probably a couple of grand for sure. And we had like the best night ever. It was just one of those trips where it was just fun because we wrestled to our peak, beat a lot of people that we shouldn't have beat, had a great tournament wrestling, and then we actually all got to hang out and have like good time together. And nobody's ever really asked me like a trip like that, so like for some reason that oddly just like came to my mind. But
Yeah.
it was a great trip. And like I said, those guys were brothers to me for multiple years. We all came in like the same year and all left at the same time. So we all took care of each other, and we held each other responsible, and we had goals. And the main goal back then was to be Southern Conference champions, because it wasn't a thing for App State wrestling like it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chattanooga was always winning, always winning, always winning. So that was like our goal, to beat Chattanooga and get some rings on our fingers.
Yeah, and you guys are the group that turned the corner for the program for sure. Because once you guys got in, knocked out your last couple of years, took the program to another level, it was just consistent from there on out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. What's your most memorable individual match? What sticks out? What's the first one to come to your mind, like the Reno tournament?
Man, that is tough. I'm just trying to think. There's a couple of them. One like came to my head right away, but I didn't want to say it because I ended up losing the match. So it was against this kid Cody Cleveland, who was like a two-time All-American for Chattanooga. And I just remember my brother was at the match. It was at like App State, and I guess I'm telling the story now, but I didn't want to.
Go for it. That's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. So, was wrestling him, and the kid's he's just like a solid wrestler. Like he's one of those kids where, it's hard to get your shots on. He's heavy hands, but he's not like aggressive. He's not like a very like flashy wrestler. So it's kind of boring, but he just always knew how to like win by a point or two. And I think I'm down by like a point or 2 points or something like that. And I just kind of remember like thinking, I'm like, my brother's here. Like he never comes all the way down here to watch me wrestle. Like I got to do something cool or something. You know what I mean? So I do like a blast double and like barely get the takedown. Well, actually, no, I didn't get the takedown. My feet drag out. And so I'm like really upset. And then I get in again on another double leg and I lift him up and I kind of did like this spin around type deal and then slammed him down like this. And so like his feet were over his head and I just shouldered him down into the mat. And oh yeah, dude, I spiked him so hard that it wasn't good. Like he laid there for a second. He got a point, but to me, it didn't matter. Like that's what I wanted to do. Like if you're gonna beat me in like technicality points with wrestling, like I'm gonna make sure that you remember me and that like you don't want to wrestle me again because I think later on in the future like that's gonna come into play later on too. So that was kind of like where I stood on that because I was gonna have to wrestle him at SoCon tournament and everything. So I just wanted him to kind of be afraid of me a little bit and know that like I was a little bit rougher and like I could do those things. So for some reason, I think it had to do with, my style of wrestling. That was just how I wrestled. And then also that, my family's always been behind me my entire life with wrestling and that, my brother was there for that. So it was just kind of one of those things where it kind of all just came into play. But like I said, it was kind of weird because I still lost.
Hey, if it's the first one to come to your mind, that's the one I want you to tell the story about. So
Right.
I told you, I was like, hey man, all these questions, you don't need any prep for them. Something's gonna come to your mind, you'll be ready for it. So that was perfect. So what's your fondest memory, favorite part about Boone? Kind of what we can kind of get outside of the wrestling realm here, and just give us your favorite part about Boone, man.
I would say the scenery. I would say App State wrestling. I would say man, I think it just comes down to honestly just like the scenery of Boone and like the people there. Like it's different, and you feel it every single time you go there. And to know that it's that type of town, but it's still a Division I school that has great athletics, including wrestling and like traditions and history and culture, it just really kind of ties everything together. So me and my girlfriend just went down there 2 weeks ago, brought her dogs down there and everything. And every time I go there, it just seems like it's not home, but it is like homey, you know what I mean? And just kind of like seeing the progression of App State wrestling and how everything continues to get better for App State wrestling and our athletic program. Like when I first went to App State wrestling, when I first went to App State, like nobody knew who App State was. And yeah, we beat Michigan and all that stuff like in football, but it was already on the up and up, and it was because of all athletics all around. And, it's just great to see the scenery of Boone stay the same but get better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean you hit it on the head there. You can't beat the mountains. Walking through campus and you're looking up at mountain tops.
Yeah, it's unique.
It is, man.
Unique. And the hippies make it feel better. Make you everything cool, calm, collective. You might have a really bad day. You didn't do so good on an exam, or you had to do a grind match with John Mark, or somebody like 3 weight classes above you. So, you get out of there and the hippies are like, hey, man, it's okay. Hey.
And they're probably spinning fire or walking on a tightrope,
Yeah, tightrope, hacky sack, doing everything that they do. So
super
No,
unique
it's
place. Yeah,
unique.
it really is. It really is. Um, so then what are you doing now, Mike? What do you do for work? Do you still get on the wrestling mat at all? Give us some input on what you're doing now.
I try to get on the wrestling mat whenever I can, which is kind of rare because I work too much. But anytime I go down to app, I always try to get on the mat. Unfortunately, during this time, COVID's going on, so couldn't
Yeah.
wrestle with guys. So that kind of sucked. But this last year, I was like a volunteer coach for one of the local high schools. So I live in like Royal Oak, which is like Metro Detroit area, and try to go in there as much as possible. But it's one of those things where I'm kind of at a point in my life where I feel like I'm at like a like a breaking point or like a peak almost with my work career where I've been sacrificing as much time and energy and trying to come up with new ideas on how to do things better with my career, where I don't take as much time as I'd like to put back into wrestling.
Right.
But ultimately, I know I'll get back into it like a lot more in the future. It's just I have some things that I want to work on. So I'm currently a general contractor here in Michigan. Have like another business in North Carolina as well too. So I'm working on like a patent for this landscaping material that we do. So it's like a permanent mulch. So instead of like having to replace your mulch every year, we recycle rubber, mix it up with some different chemicals and some colors and stuff like that. And we usually do it for like pretty upscale homes or commercial or like schools and stuff like that. So we'll do that. And it's been like a product that kind of like made me money and got me to do things that I want to do. So I've always wanted to be like a general contractor. My dad's a mason, so I grew up laying block, pouring concrete,
Yeah.
uh, basically since I was like 12, 13 years old. Like every summer was the same thing. So I've been in the building industry for a long time, and it just kind of fell that I went that way. I didn't study anything in building trades. I was actually trying to be a physical therapist because of my therapist that did that for me. Just didn't work out. But yeah, so now we've been doing a bunch of commercial projects in Detroit. Here in Michigan, cannabis is legal. So what is crazy is there's more business right now for construction people, no matter if they're electricians, plumbers, HVAC, general contractors. There's almost more work in that industry right now than there is in a lot of other things because there's these huge, huge investors coming from all across the country, mostly out west, as far as Colorado, California, Washington, and they're just buying like abandoned buildings and they're saying, hey, we want this to do this. Can you do it? And that's what we're working on right now is we're working on 30,000 square foot facility in Detroit that, I mean, we're gutting the whole place currently, and we're putting in like over 3,000 amps of power into this place. And I mean, it's going to be state of the art. And ultimately what they're trying to do is they're trying to wait for it to become federally legal, and then they're going to sell it to these pharmaceutical companies that have buco bucks, and that's what a lot of these people are planning on doing. So that's been kind of taking up, I'd say, probably the last like 3 years of work in my career with my workers and stuff. Is we've been kind of focusing on that because it's like a niche market also, and it's kind of like they call it like the green rush. It's very similar to like out in California when everybody was flocking out there to go get gold and stuff like that. But like right now, it's a new industry and it's so new that it's just there's so much work in it. So that's currently what I'm doing is a lot of build outs like that. And then ironically, another thing that we do is we build playgrounds. So I'm certified to do playgrounds across the country. We got a pretty big one coming up also in Carolina that will be starting in a couple of months. So honestly, I just enjoy building. I enjoy creating things. I enjoy helping people put like their vision together and
Yeah.
make sure everybody's happy. And I like being able to do whatever I want to do, honestly. So that's why I like kind of being my own boss and kind of pushing myself. And I think wrestling's something that I wouldn't be the person I am right now if I didn't wrestle, because wrestling takes, I mean, wrestling takes an incredible amount of self-discipline that, I push myself every day to do this and do that and try to get my workers to do something that, they're not comfortable with doing and getting better and learning from it. So I really enjoy everything that I do right now. And honestly, like 5 years ago, if you would have asked me like how everything's going, I would have told you it was a shit show, because I was scrapping for work. I was, I had a college degree from a Division I school, and I wanted to be a physical therapist, but I couldn't afford to do the whole doctorate program and go out of state again and do all this stuff. It just didn't make sense to me. And I ended up working for my dad for one more year and just started branching off with my old best friend. And we started doing some landscaping things. And then I started working with another person and kind of invented like this whole mulch thing. And honestly, that thing's still taking off and everything's going good. So it's just been one of those things where hard work and perseverance and, kind of believing in yourself kind of works out. So it's something that I learned from wrestling for sure.
Well, cool, man. It sounds like you're doing really well for yourself. And, it also sounds like if I had to guess, the sport of wrestling's probably prepared you with all the life skills that, you needed to finally get into the career that's taken off for you, man. So that's awesome here. And again, we're talking with Mike Kessler. If you're just tuning in, share the video, ask questions. It looks like a Scott Billingsley just commented, said, "Hey, cousin."
That's my cuz.
So I guess Scott's on the video tuning in. So
nice.
give you a shout out, Scott.
Scotty too hottie.
So now we're gonna get into these quick fire questions. I call it the Let's Scuffle.
Oh, whew.
Does that ring a bell, Mike? I tell this to everybody.
Oh,
remember that announcer at Chattanooga? He was always like, "Let's."
Do I rip my shirt off now, or?
Yeah. Don't rip that. That's old school. We're going to talk about that shirt here in a second. But these are just quick fire questions. Just give us a quick answer. Okay. All right. Would you rather wrestle in the position top, bottom, or neutral?
Neutral.
You mentioned that earlier. Breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast.
Yeah, touche. Would you rather run Howard's Knob twice, back to back, or move mats for camp?
Howard's Knob.
That was quick. You made a face to say you wouldn't do that, but then as soon as moving mats comes up.
Oh no, that was miserable. No. Howard's Knob 2 times.
I forget who I was talking with. Did they pick moving mats over knob? I can't remember, but I need to start keeping a track of these and see who picks what.
I know you would pick Howard's Knob twice.
Oh, for sure, you'd be done in an hour,
That's what I'm saying. Me and you, we'd be done. We'd be done quick.
I'm trying to find the person that's like hates knob and would say I would move mats all day instead of running that mountain.
Well, yeah, maybe if I was a heavyweight, because
yeah.
it takes them so long to do the knob. It'd probably take them, the same amount of time as moving mats all day long as it does to run the knob anyways. But, it is what it is. I'd rather do the knob for sure.
Same. McDonald's or Bojangles?
Dom, is that seriously your best question?
It's one of the questions. McDonald's or Bojangles?
Bojangles all day.
Still trying to find a McDonald's person. I think Bojangles always wins. I'll have to change it up to maybe like Cookout or Bojangles.
Ooh, I mean, either way, we don't have Bojangles up here in Michigan, so any chance I can get Bojangles. Even like last time I was in Boone, got it.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah. All right. Would you rather do 6 a.m. preseason workouts or 6 a.m. postseason workouts?
Remind me, what do we do 6 a.m. postseason workouts?
Combo runs, right?
Combo. Oh, yeah. For some reason, I didn't like those. I enjoyed the bleacher runs and like hand fighting on the
Turf, highway hippos.
yeah, 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 exactly. So I'll go with preseason.
Cool. Wednesday afternoon conditioning or Monday, Friday, those 6 a.m.s morning conditioning.
Um, I don't know. That's a tough call. I'll just go with the afternoon. That way I didn't have to get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, touche. Would you rather do? See, I should have changed this one up for you. Would you rather do a grind match with Coach Bentley
Mm-hmm.
or a swim workout? Were you around when we did swim workouts?
I don't think so.
You know, we started changing things up. We jump in the pool every now and then just to kind of change up the scenery from beating up your body. We do swim workouts kind of towards the middle end of season, but
It's a good idea, though.
yeah, it's a great idea. So you'd probably want to do a swim workout.
I mean, if I had the opportunity, line up John Mark. Let's go.
Yeah, he's getting old, man. John Mark's getting old. There's some things hurting him. I see him getting up in practices when he's going, rolling his shoulders out a little bit.
Oh, I bet, man.
But he's still scrapping as hard as he still gets out there about every darn day.
When I got there, he was just finishing up a workout, and I mean, he was doused in sweat. And I'm like, John Mark, man, a beat doesn't miss you, huh? He's like,
He only knows one way to go, and that's hard.
Exactly. Good for him.
Yeah. So what's your favorite memory from App Wrestling camps?
App wrestling camps, favorite memory. Honestly, man, like it's not like a memory, but like I really do enjoy like teaching kids how to wrestle and like you know how it is, like the kids really look up to you because there's like a lot of kids that, they want to wrestle in college, and unfortunately, like that happens for a very, very small percentage of kids. No matter how hard they work or how talented they are, a lot of things have to fall into place, and you have to be like very resilient and a hard worker. So like as far as running those camps, they were super long days, and not only did we run the training sessions for the kids, we were using it as training sessions for ourselves. So like on our lunch breaks was when we scrapped for like an hour and a half, and like they were brutal workouts. And, it was a couple weeks. I don't know, I think it was like 3 weeks almost. And, it was worth it though to like help kids out. And that's like what wrestling's honestly all about. So I would say that.
Yeah, I'd love it too. And the high school kids would come in and work out with us. Granted, they might not come back again, but they'd come in and work out with us during our practices.
Exactly.
Yeah, camps, even though camps were a grind, man, they were fun. They were fun. It was very rewarding. Kind of that, you finally get that first opportunity to start giving back to the sport. So, dude, your T-shirt that you're wearing, that looks old school as can be. Let me see that thing.
All right, you ready?
Hold on.
Let's see here.
Maybe. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Where did you get that?
Did you see the stitching?
On the collar? Yeah, that's what I noticed that, and I was wondering, I was like, is that a wrestling shirt? I thought
got a little
no way.
Appalachian wrestling on the collar there. Yeah.
What's the scoop on that shirt, man? That's old school. I've never seen that before.
I haven't pulled, it's got to be a special occasion for this shirt to get pulled out.
Yeah, right? Oh.
Which is obviously today, because I get to talk to Dom on the grind, so that's obviously a special occasion. So this shirt, I think my sophomore year, we used to go to Goodwill like every week. And it wasn't just to like, find things, it's because we were poor, man. We were broke.
Trying to wear clothes to classes.
Yeah, exactly. We were wearing our wrestling gear almost every single day because that's all we had. But no, I seen it at Goodwill and I'm like, no way, like this is crazy. So found the shirt, and Coach Mance was my head coach my freshman year, and then he resigned after that. But I ended up living at Coach Mance's properties my junior and senior year.
Yep.
So I used to work for him too, in the summers and like during like spring and fall, like when wrestling wasn't going on, I would work for him, cut grass and do just a bunch of random stuff. He found out that I like did masonry, so he just had me doing a bunch of random things around. And one of the days I was wearing the shirt, and he's like, Kessler, what is that right there? Where did you get that? I'm like, I got it at Goodwill. He's like, do you know how old that shirt is? And I'm like, no idea, but I'm guessing that it's got to be pretty old just looking at stitching on the collar, because I've never seen that.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm pretty sure. He's like, I don't know for certain, but he's like, I'm pretty sure that's like early to mid 80s is when that shirt was made. And I'm like, no way. So then after that, like, I never wore it to workouts again. Like, I wore it to workouts and stuff like that to practice just like as a joke. But then when I found that out, I'm like, I can't be wearing this thing. This is like a vintage App State wrestling shirt. So I plan on having this shirt until I'm too fat to wear it anymore, and then give it a hand down or light it on fire, one of the two.
Dude, well, I don't plan on getting fat, so please give me that shirt if it does not fit you anymore, because I want that thing, dude.
That's great.
All right, man. We'll end it here with one last question for you, Mike. And it's the last question we ask everyone. And what's one thing that you hope people will remember you for while wrestling at App?
I really hope that people remember me for being the hardest worker, as far as, just going after whatever I wanted to do. And, it's kind of like I literally have a tattoo, and it's kind of like what I've lived by since I was at App is like, impossible is nothing. So if you put your mind to it, you can really do it. And, that's kind of the type of person that I am. And, I guess what people remember me for that know me, that's kind of up to them. It's not for me to kind of dictate, but I would say I'm pretty sure that I made sure that people knew the type of person I was, and I was a good-hearted person that always wanted the best for everybody and wanted to be there for anybody, whether it was friend, wrestling, support, anything like that. But honestly, like, nothing good comes easy, so you have to work hard.
Heck yeah, man. That's a good closing answer to our last question, Mike. And again, we appreciate you being on. We thank everybody that's been listening to us tonight on The Grind. And I'd like to give a special thank you to our Patreon members, Danny and Sharon, Sava, John, Billy, and our first Patreon, Jesse. Your support has allowed us to extend our reach in promoting App Wrestling. And again, if you're not a Patreon, join. It's very affordable. And again, all this money goes right back to the program. We'll post how to join in the live chat. So give that a click. Again, follow us, share us, help us reach out. We really appreciate everybody viewing in tonight. Mike, we appreciate you being on, man. And, just let us know when you're back up in town. Maybe we can get you on another video. But that's all we got for tonight. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Have a great rest of your Monday and a good week. Thank you.
This episode of The Grind is proudly sponsored by Mountaineer Works. Mountaineer Works, owned and operated by Appalachian State alum and athletics photographer Chad W. Mitchell. Chad designs and builds officially licensed, unique cornhole board sets, and today I give my all plaques that will surely rock your tailgate, party, backyard barbecue, office, or creative space. They're sculptured smooth in the wood lab fire coated at over 3,000 degrees, and paint dyed in the Cornhole Conservatory to complement their one-of-a-kind grain, then App State branded. The best part is you choose from a set of pre-approved color layouts and App State logos to personally design your cornhole boards, and today I give my all plaque. Mix it up or match it up, you can't go wrong. Show your Mountaineer pride as these make solid gifts for deserving folks. Find Mountaineer Works on Facebook and Instagram to place your order or ask a question.
This has been a production by Yosef Media.